What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my Monday Night Football FanDuel Single-Game Breakdown. And be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. Follow me on Twitter, @Josh Engleman, so you can get these sim results updated around 7 p.m. tonight, maybe a little earlier, we shall see. But if you want to get those updates, you got to be following me on Twitter. And finally, let me know in the comments section, who are your favorite options at MVP and at Flex for this slate? We'll start with the high level stuff. 103.4, that's the average fantasy points in the optimal winning lineup. 58,500 is the median salary used. This is where it gets crazy. 2.9 bucks in the optimal lineup, 2.1 Rams. That's pretty unbalanced. Bucks are 4-point favorites with a 48.5 point total. I'm excited for this game. It should be an interesting showdown slate given the amount of weapons on both teams. I'm excited to break it down. Let's dive in. Here are my favorite MVPs. When it comes to the MVPs, I think we've got 3 separate tiers. Now, the top tier, one guy. $16,000, that would be Tom Brady. He's just a better fantasy performer right now than Jared Goff. He has a lot of weapons, spreads it out a lot, but in the grand scheme of things, Tom Brady's going to have the highest projection for the slate. He is the best option at MVP, shows up there about a third of the time, 32.3%. Your second best option is going to be Jared Goff, $14,500, so you're saving $1,500 over Brady, but he's only the optimal MVP 16% of the time, about half as often as Tom Brady. So we're talking about roughly 50% of the time, it's one of the quarterbacks. After that, you hit my third tier, which I think is probably 3 people. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp. They're all roughly 8.5% likely to be the MVP. Godwin the most expensive at 13.5. Mike Evans in the middle, 13 flat. And then you get Cooper Kupp at 12K. Happy to go to any of those 3 guys as well. Just keep a close eye on their ownership as we get closer to lock. Then you get into like the real weird stuff. Robert Woods, Ronald Jones, if you want to go to the kickers or some weird stuff like that. But I would stop at either Woods or Jones. I wouldn't really be looking for an MVP south of Ronald Jones at 11,500. Now, as we head to the flex spot, this one's kind of crazy. There's basically no value. Tyler Higbee at 7,500 is the only guy that shows up more than 5% of the time in a sim if we're looking to like truly spend down. It's a lot of concentration at the top. The most frequent flex play is Jared Goff at 14.5. Looks good there, shows up in that spot 44% of the time. After that, it gets pretty murky. Brady shows up in the optimal flex spot like 36% of the time. He's clearly the best play on FanDuel. You just have to pay close attention to the ownership, be aware of what kind of contest you're in. Then we get it spread out. We can drop all the way down to Ronald Jones at 11.5. Shows up in the optimal in the flex spot 32% of the time. Antonio Brown at 9K shows up 30% of the time. Leonard Fournette at 8K, 34% of the time. If Austin McGinnis is the kicker tonight at 8K, he shows up about 30% of the time. You can get to Ryan Suckup if you want to. Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, both of these guys are in like the 25 to 30% range. It's super flat. Both of these teams have so many offensive weapons. I mean, if I'm just looking at the depth chart right now, Jones, Fournette, Godwin, Evans, Antonio Brown, hell, Scotty Miller, Rob Gronkowski, Kupp, Woods, Reynolds, Higbee, Everett. There's so many potential options, and you have to get touchdowns right to be successful in a showdown slate. And that's why you're seeing in the flex spot so many different guys in the 25 to 35% range for likelihood. It's really difficult to separate some of these guys because anybody on these 2 teams could be big time touchdown threats. And I'm sure we'll watch the game and Tom Brady's going to throw a touchdown to a tackle eligible or something really weird. So if I'm just ranking my favorite flex plays by how frequently they are in the optimal, it's Jared Goff, it's Leonard Fournette, Tom Brady, and Ronald Jones II. Now, I don't have public ownership yet. We will have that closer to lock. You'll be able to read into that a little bit in my picks when I tweet it out. But I can take a quick look and see I'm not going to be too fond of Mike Evans at $13K in the flex spot. I'm more likely to spend the extra $500 to go to Godwin. I'm way more likely to just spend $500 less or $1,000 less and go to Woods or Kupp. I think Mike Evans is in a tough spot just from a salary perspective. If he happens to be wildly underowned, and that would surprise me as well, maybe you can get there, but I expect Evans to be overowned when all is said and done. Darrell Henderson at 10.5 only shows up in the optimal 13% of the time. I'm not expecting to be getting there all that often. Malcolm Brown at 8,500, another guy I'm not expecting to have much of tonight. Robert Woods in the MVP spot, probably a little bit too expensive. I'm more likely to spend up a little bit more. Go to Evans, go to Godwin. So Woods seems to be in no man's land a bit. Those are the guys that I just see out of the gate that they have a guy or two guys slightly above them more frequently in the optimal. They've got a guy or two guys slightly below them more often in the optimal. They are being sandwiched, and it's not looking good for the guys that I just mentioned. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. That is my FanDuel single game breakdown for the Monday Night Football game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Los Angeles Rams. One last time, please hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get the updates tonight when I post my new sims. And finally, jump into the comment section and let me know who your favorite MVPs and flex plays are for tonight's slate. It's going to be a fun one. I'm hoping for a ton of offense. We shall see. I will be back with showdown breakdowns for Thanksgiving Day, and keep an eye out for my top 5 videos. Thanksgiving edition. There's going to be a ton of content coming out. I'm excited. Good luck tonight. Enjoy Monday Night Football.